Hello, today we're in York and behind me is York Minster, and we're having a look round York in the winter to see if it's still busy, and it is. And we're having a little music from Mike the busker in the background. Interestingly enough, I haven't carried cash for years, but buskers now have card readers, so I managed to do him a donation. So yeah, let's have a look around the old part of York, the Shambles. Doesn't sound very nice, sounds like a teenager's bedroom. But anyway, we'll see what we can find in York. We've been here before, but we haven't always got everything. You can't, it's a big place. So here we are with what you might regard as part two.
Night a copper comes to me, says to me, McGuire, would you kindly let me light me pipe and boil your boiler fire? He sat right down in front of it with his umbrellas up to late. I said, me decent fellow, you rescue looking for your mate. He ups to me and says to me, and down on all your pranks, I know you for a traitor from the Tipperary ranks. I hit him from the shoulder, gave him such a belt, and it landed in the boiler making hot asphalt. You can lay it in the harness, you can lay it in the flat, but there's less for them boys to swirl in your hat. I took the whole balloon, sure I never felt, and he said this that was equal to the hot asphalt. We quickly pulled him out again, he said he needed help, and with something more to me began to rub. The devil was thinking harder, he said it's hard as stone, and with every other jump you could hear the copper grow. I think he says to Riley that he looks just like old Nick. Damn me if I'm not inclined to clean him with me pick. I said it would be easier to boil it till he melts, and to stir him nice and easy in the hot asphalt. You can lay it in the hot.
As we walked away from York Minster, we spotted a cafe with a sign outside saying, "Don't walk past here, or you'll miss our wonderful homemade scones." So we took notice of that and went in and had coffee and scones on this day, and then carried on for the rest of our tour of the city. Now, I did Latin at school, and we learnt the names of the cities throughout Britain that have Roman origins, and we learnt that York was called Eburacum, which means it's likely to have city walls, so we went looking for those. You can't walk round all of them, I don't know if they're even all there, but we had a look at part of the wall, unusually in this day and age, part of the wall where you have no safety rail, and you could easily roll down or fall down to the ground below. I must admit I don't like the nanny states, and I was quite happy with that. I think I might be a little more worried if we had children with us. We stayed in a hotel overnight in York and then got our breakfast at the nearest Wetherspoons, which was this corner site by the Micklegate. After that, we set off to walk around the city with the particular goal of finding the Shambles and having a look at the Shambles Market and some of the interestingly named shops there. You may have heard on the news that one of the northern train companies has been pretty poor at delivering train services recently, and to get to York from where we live you need to use Transpennine Express. Unfortunately, all they say about them is true. Trains get cancelled all the time, and the one we got back from York got as far as Leeds and they didn't have a crew to take it forward, so we had to find alternative trains to get home. Moving on to another part of North Yorkshire, this is one we visited last year out on the coast at Whitby, and we visited in June at summer solstice time because we did actually see the sun come up on the longest day of the year. We wandered around Whitby late afternoon and into the evening. You'll notice the shadows get longer as the sun starts to set, and we then wanted an evening meal. Now, we didn't know this at the time. We crossed the bridge to the old part of Whitby and couldn't find anything open. The facts about Whitby, as I found them, were that if you don't like fish and chips, there's not a lot else on offer here because Whitby has a lot of fish, and most of the venues serve fish and chips at varying prices. The other thing we found that was most surprising was that most places were closing, or their kitchen was closing at least, at 8 o'clock at night, so there were only a couple of places where we could get an evening meal. One of the bar owners explained that this was because there's a shortage of chefs and you can only get a chef to work about 12 hours a day, so they employ them to do breakfast and lunch, or they employ them to do lunch and early evening meal, but their shift ends, there are no more chefs available, so food disappears around 8 o'clock at night. Bit of a shame. Go on holiday in the summer and you can't get a meal after 8 o'clock. You can of course go to Wetherspoons, there's one of those here, but they'd run out of everything when we tried that.